College of Architecture, Art and Design. And I'd like to invite you to this lecture, which is a series that we've had for several years now, in collaboration with the Abuظbي Music and Arts Foundation, or ADMAF. This is part of the Riwaq al-Fikr lecture series, which is in the month of March is part of the Abuظbي Festival. I'd like to thank ADMAF. The representatives haven't reached here yet, but I'd like to thank them for their support over the years, which has been tremendous. But the lecture has also been made possible by the Swiss Embassy. I'm not sure if I'm technically correct by saying it's by the Swiss Embassy, but we have the Consul General, Frank Egman. I think I have that right. Yes, he's come all the way to attend both the lecture and the opening that's following this. And we have Audrey Boucher-Park. Did I say that right? Audrey Boucher-Park. Close. So thank you for your support as well, and welcome you to the College of Architecture, Art and Design. So I'll now hand it off to Bettina, I believe, to introduce our speaker today.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. Our speaker for today joins us from Switzerland and graduated from the Basel School of Design as a graphic designer. He began his career at Meisner and Mangold, after which he founded a graphic and interaction studio, Claudiabasel, together with Thomas Borcher and Roland John. He designs mostly corporate designs, posters, and books, primarily in the cultural field. Since 2012, he has been a lecturer at HGK Basel in the field of visual communication and also a receiver of numerous awards. He is responsible for the design of the competition 100 Best Posters, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and is also a member of the Alliance Graphique Internationale. The lecture today will delve into aspects of Oplatek's design practice and philosophy. Drawing upon the rich heritage of Swiss graphic design, he will discuss how traditional design principles intersect with contemporary techniques in his work, which will be accompanied by an exhibition of 52 selected posters spanning Claudiabasel's career here in the gallery at CAD. The lecture is organized by the Art and Design Department and is a part of Riwaq al-Fikr ADMAF Talks, and the exhibition is supported by the Swiss Embassy in Abu Dhabi as a part of their 50th anniversary celebrations of diplomatic relations with the UAE. That said, please join me in welcoming Jéry Oplatek.
Is it good like this? The light? Sorry. Yeah, maybe that's good. That's good. Okay. Thank you for the very nice introduction. Hi, I'm Jéry. I'm a part of Claudiabasel. Part of the world of Claudiabasel. I'm very happy to be here and give you a brief insight into our world and show how a short selection of some of our projects. Now, why doesn't it react? We are a graphic and interaction design studio based in Basel, founded, as you said, 2003. Currently, we are four permanent designers, and then there are different interns and freelancers who always change. This is an inside in our studio. Yeah. Me, personally, I'm specialized in printed matters, so I do mostly just printed stuff, paper stuff. My partner, Thomas Becher, he is the interaction guy, but today I will talk just about the printed part because that's my area. We all graduated, as you said, at the Basel, in some cases, famous Basel School of Design. Here you can see the building from the 50s. We were taught with methods that were still strongly influenced by the so-called Swiss style, which was very famous in the 50s and 60s and 70s. In the case of Basel, it was very strong influenced by Armin Hoffmann. He, by the way, was a part in the designing process of this very nice building, so he developed that together with the architect Hermann Bauer. Here's some examples from on the left side and in the middle from Armin Hoffmann, posters for the Theater Basel, and on the right side a cover by Wolfgang Wangart, very famous typographer. Yes, so that is somehow our heritage, where we are based on. I try to kind of design a scheme how we work, because we believe that every task, every customer needs an individual solution. We start always from the scratch. That makes us somehow always, or because I start always from zero. It's very important to me, and I think that makes design as well super exciting, because there's no recipe how you can do good designs. It's always an adventure. It's always a path where you don't know where it ends. For a corporate design, like a kind of a basic identity that would stay for a long time, because in Switzerland, usually if the director of a cultural or of a theater changes, he changes as well the graphic designer. So that means that every 5 to 10 years, the whole thing is renewed and renewed. And in times of sustainability, they asked us, they wanted to have something which stays over the directions. We did then a research and found this, I think it was the first logo type for the Theater Basel designed by our thing you can use in graphic design. And that's always very hard for a designer to design for another designer. And yeah, that was what we had in mind when we designed it. We then asked type designers, type family, and kind of extended these characteristic sets of ligatures in the... Do you hear me, by the way? Okay, it's good. Yes, so we have the typeface in application on current printed matter. For the current director, we developed a kind of a system, long time, because it's a fast kind of a fast business, I would say. From bottom to top is the system. Here we see the museum from outside with 2 of our posters. Very nice car. This is one room from inside. That was an anniversary exhibition. So they hanged some of our posters on the wall. You can see a little bit the dimensions. Maybe you saw them already in live, but this is the Swiss format. It's called Weltformat. That means world format, but it's funny because it exists just in Switzerland. But it's very nice format. So back to the corporate design. As I said, we always try to kind of give us rules how a corporate design should work. So the stronger the rule, but the opener the rule, the more fun we have. In that case, we said, okay, a house is always built like from bottom to top. So you have the fundament, then you have like the ground floor, first floor, and so on and so on. And that's what we did with the typography. We have like the fundament is on the left side, the logo, Swiss Architecture Museum. Then on the second sheet, you have like the title from the exhibition. Then top of that is the date. Top of that, the subtitle, and so on. So with this rule, we play already 17 years. We do the posters, always the same rule, super simple. But somehow there is very flexible. You will see it maybe afterwards. there were a lot of discussions first with the client. Why is the subtitle on top of the title? Because subtitle means that it's not on top, but below the title and so on. But after a year, everyone accepted it, and now it works very well. Since the design or the corporate design is applied mostly on the posters for the exhibitions, we said, okay, they wanted from us always to have an image on the poster, and the poster always has text. And for me, one of the biggest problems in let's say, in poster design is how to connect the two layers of text and image. So how is the relation between the two layers? And then we said, okay, there should be always kind of an intervention into the text to combine or to connect or to bring in relation the text layer with the image layer. You can see that here quite well. So we cut it on some spots. We cut it the typeface to connect it with the image in the background. These are some examples. Sometimes they have a small exhibition or just talks. Then we do just without image, just typography. Sometimes the connection is just through the shape, how we do the typesetting. So on the left side, like the rooftop of the building is round. So we said, okay, the typesetting is as well round, and so on. Sometimes you're super lucky that you get an image like this. This is a famous Swiss architect and furniture designer, Fritz Haller. And as I understood it right, he built all his furniture and houses on this cube, kind of the construction or the proportions, everything is somehow connected to that cube. So for us, it was just to find the right way to bring in the title. It's one of my favorite posters, by the way. Then sometimes we have super nice images, then we put the type a little bit away so that you see more of the image. This one on the left side was, I think it was printed, and 2 days afterwards came the lockdown because of Corona. So then it laid for a half year somewhere in the museum, and then we said, okay, it's a pity to throw it away. We overprinted it. We crossed like the old date and printed in the new date with screen print. So this is somehow almost a historical moment. Here are other examples. Now one thing, what I would say is very typical for us is like that we, sometimes the design comes through the technique, through the printing technique. 99% of our posters are printed in screen print because of the quality of the color. And sometimes the design comes out of the printing technique. And in screen print, they have always like, they fill color into the screen, and then they do, let's say, 10 copies, and then they refill the screen with color and do 10 other copies and so on. And usually they put always the same color into the screen. But because of the topic of the exhibition, we said, okay, we want to have the whole rainbow of colors, and asked the printer to always put a different color into the screen. So we started, it's the upper row, we started with yellow, then he put in orange, then he put in red, and so on and so on. Then came the second print run, was like the middle row, the same but in the opposite way. And then in the end, we printed over the colors the image. That was good for us because we had 100 different posters, but the costs were almost the same as if you would printed it just with one color. So again, budget is always very important. But on the other hand as well, to understand technique and to know how it works and to know what is possible really can give you as well ideas or inspiration for your design. Here's some of them big. Was an exhibition about public spaces in Brazil, I think. This is another example for this technique thing. So we had like one screen, one team. We printed it 7 times, but we always moved a little bit the paper, and at the same time we changed the color. So we saved a lot of money, and the technique or the thinking behind the technique did the design. That was the briefing we gave to the printer. Yeah, it's not so interesting. Here you can see somehow how it worked. So we have one screen. We printed the first print run in black. Then we moved a little bit the paper, printed the second screen run in white. Then we moved again, printed again white. Then we and so on and so on. And that gave us somehow this this design. And maybe the last example, that was legal. We asked the police. So it was an exhibition about concrete. And the client, the museum, they had an image with a graffiti on the wall with the text, "I long for beton," and they really loved that and asked us if we can work with that. And then I said, okay, but we do it in real. So we printed in screen print the structure of concrete. And then we asked the police, we asked the company who is hanging the posters if it would be possible to go there and spray live with a spray can. And that's what we did. So again, every poster was unique, and every poster was made or printed at the spot. These are some other examples. It's a rainbow print. That means when you put several colors in the screen and then it starts to mix during printing. Here you can see the 3 layers. So we had like one layer rainbow print, a second layer rainbow print, and then the last layer was black with the typeface. Here's some impressions from the printing house. Next project, Kilowoche. Kilowoche is one of the biggest sailing events. It's not in Switzerland, it's based in Germany, in the north of Germany. So I think it's worldwide one of the biggest sailing events with a lot of cultural events and regattas and so on. And they do always a competition. It's one of the, I would say, famous poster competition in Europe. It's already existing for around about 60 years. A lot of famous European designers did already or won already this competition. So here you can see some of the old. It's like, I don't know, from the 50s until now. Some old posters. So they asked us. We were invited for the competition and we won. My son at that time, he was around about 5 years or so, and he was totally into pirates. Everything was pirates and everywhere pirates flag and so. And then we said, okay, let's do something humorous and because always this sailing boat and this white sail, and so we said, okay, let's do something with a pirate. Yes, and we won with the pirate. Somehow I was astonished because it proved that they have as well humor. You can see on the left side the entry we gave, that was the poster. On the left side, they have a lot of applications like, I don't know, cars and shirts and ties and flags and so on. So there's a lot of work to apply your design on thousands of formats and 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, and so on. These were some color variations we did. So they liked the one on the right side. In the end, it was chosen. We were aware of that there is a lot to do with applications of the design on, as I said, on mostly merchandise. So we said, okay, we have to develop something which is kind of easy to handle. And for that reason, we said, okay, we need a grid, and we do everything with geometrical shapes which are based on that grid. Even the skull is based on that grid. Here you see some excerpts from the design manual. Like there were a lot of patterns for the website and for, I don't know, Facebook background and so on and so on. Here again. Everything was designed, already prepared for print with the skull, and then Corona came again. And then we said, okay, maybe now the skull is not the right thing. And as well, Kilo was postponed for 1 year. So we were thankful that we had this system, and we moved from the skull to the smiley. And that's what it was then in the end, here applied on a flag at Kilo. So systematical thinking is as well very important for us. Now I come to Museum Tangali. Tangali is a famous artist from Basel. He has his own museum there. Beside the collection of Tangali, they have as well temporary exhibitions, which the museum always works with different designers. Again and again, they ask us. And I will show you some of the, here you can see a machine. Tangali built huge machines. So here's a machine from Tangali. But now I want to quickly show you some of the campaigns we did for the Tangali. This one was for a British artist, Harun Mirza, mostly sound and light installations, and he works a lot with these foam pyramids, which are kind of used in music studios to break the sonic. And we thought, okay, they are so catchy, they are so nice. So we developed out of InDesign and Photoshop, we developed a system with these foam pyramids. Here you can see 2 posters. We had as well the 3 colors, RGB, red, green, blue, and additionally we had kind of a pearl silver for the museum shop. If you put 3 Welt formats together, Welt format is as well F4, so you have a F12 in Switzerland. So, and in that case, that was super cool. Usually we don't do that. We don't like to do that because it's too big somehow, but in that case, it's super. The next campaign was Metamatic Reloaded. Metamatics are drawing machines designed by Tangali. So these are machines, they are kind of vibrating, and you can put a pen in and then they draw a drawing. So the museum invited 10 artists to reinterpret these metamatics. That's what we wanted to do as well. We wanted to reinterpret the metamatic by with the posters somehow. So we said, okay, we have 4 screens on which 2 or 3 artists were represented with an image. And we start to combine these screens. So here's the schematic. We have like the 4 screens with images on it. And then we start to combine screen 1 with screen 2 and screen 1 with screen 3 and so on until that gave us 14 different posters. Here we can see the first, it's like the pure screens, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have 1 combined with 2, 1 combined with 3, and so on. Until we had like all combined, and it was super messed up, but that fits very well to Tangali, I can say you. Because there was no space for the text, for the information on the poster, we decided, okay, we have to do a separate text poster, and to connect these 15 different posters, which shows this very strong like signal orange, to combine them in the city, so that if you walk through the city, that you kind of that you bring them together. This is an example. that's not how it usually hangs in Switzerland. This was especially, but it was somewhere on a construction site. They hanged, I don't know how many posts, but it was around 100 meters long. So that is the text post. The next complicated thing was Christoph Gintjera, an artist from Prague, as well at Tangeli. We had our first meeting. He came, it was the meeting concerning the catalog, the exhibition catalog. And he came, he had a shoebox, and in that shoebox he had a stack with, I don't know, 200 sheets, A4 sheets glued together. And he said, okay, he had already made a dummy or a sketch for his catalog. And that was so amazing that we said, okay, that's exactly how we want to do it. So the effort was not to design, but to find a way how you can kind of do a copy out of his sketch from the catalog. We reached that somehow. I don't know exactly how, but this is one example. We had 1,000 copies in the end of the catalog. They were packed in old shoeboxes. Every shoebox was different. And it was here you can see the stack of papers, like always A4 sheets glued together by hand. So we had, I don't know, it was 400,000 A4 sheets glued together. And they were even labeled. Here you can see a detail. It was on purpose that it's not precise so that you can see it's handmade. And it was even labeled by hand. In that case, it was a tape, and on that tape, someone wrote it by hand. So, yeah. Here you can see everyone is different. Everyone is unique. Here's some of the shoeboxes. That was how it looked in the museum's shop. So they had a wall full of shoeboxes with the catalogs in it, and so on. We then also designed the poster campaign for Christoph, and we wanted to do it analog, according to the catalog. Since he has super nice slogans in his catalog or on his artwork, like "Go home and think" or "I have no idea," which is very good for a designer. We wanted to do like a series of 10 posters with just the slogans. He was then afraid that it doesn't represent him that good, so we decided then to have 10 posters, 5 slogans and 5 image posters. Here in big. Potato Power, my favorite one, that was a sculpture made out of potatoes, and it generated electricity, and this electricity somehow feed a computer, and the computer talked to the other sculpture, and I don't know, totally crazy. Here you can see a detail how he created the print template. So this one is really made by tape in 1:1 size. So the printer used then our original to print then the copy run. In this case, it was oil on A4 and glued them together with tape so that there is not the precision that you see that it's handmade. Now, almost the last project. This is an old one. It doesn't exist anymore. This was an identity design for the institute with an abstract shape together to a new illustration. And we had always like black paper, and on that black paper we print that, and then we did as well so-called doing fashion papers, which is kind of a mixture between a fashion magazine and the graduate catalog. Here you can see the first series of 3 posters for the show. Here a detail with the color. The pink color is actually the color which is overprinted over the. It's very technical, but you can see we are very technical. These were invitation cards, front side, back side. Very free as well in typography. Invitation cards. Running order for the show. Then the third again, with the, as an invitation card, they wanted these flip cards. I don't know if you know them. If you a student who's looking through the bottle filled with water, and out of this technique of the flipping card, and the image came here. The first paper we did. That does not happen often, that the client says, we can go as far as we want, it doesn't have to be readable. So these spot colors. This was about the shape of the typesetting, once again. This was about type design. This is the last one. Sheets, as you can see it here, and everyone was invited to co-create, co-design somehow. Yes, stick, right, sprayed, glue. So someone even put a super short. That was for the competition 100 best posters in DAS. Funny wise, they use Instagram mostly for advertising, so it's a poster competition, but we then to slang in German slang and in Austrian slang, and I can tell you it's very very different, and even some words from Switzerland I did not understand.
Content being delivered on apps and web design. Do you feel that print is, in Europe, do you feel that print is under threat? And if so,
I would say in Central Europe it's not that. Even in some areas it's rising, I would say. How you should educate that, or if it should be a part at the universities, I don't know. How he was educated was somehow disconnected of the technique, I would say. So it was more design in general, and it doesn't depend on in which technique you realize it then in the end. So I think this is for me how I teach further. So if someone is absolutely into the digital or into the technology, then it's good, but you still have, the design is somehow a step before, I would say. So, but of course there is kind of the direction is more and more into the web-based or into the digital communication. That's for sure. But as I said, funny wise, I think especially books, they realize that somehow the touch of a book and the object and the white and that you can hold it in the hand is something different than the screen. And I experienced that the demand on books for book design is rising. And posters in Switzerland is, I would say, special because there is a huge infrastructure for posters. And the digital posters they have as well, but they have some issues. So it's dangerous with the traffic and so on. It's still super expensive. So it doesn't, it exists already for 10 years, but it's not really like rising, or it's still there where it was 10 years ago. Did that answer somehow your question?
Don't be shy.
It's always the same. We can discuss afterwards.
I had a question regarding the sound posters, specifically the last one, the rainbow ones. So would it be the case where you try to put colors on the silk screen printing and print it? Is it different every single time, or do you find like a pattern and stick to that?
No, actually it is slightly different every time, but we try. It depends on what you want, but in that case we wanted that that they stay stable, but yeah, the screen. It's mixing analogly, so you can't control it. And for me, this is something which is as well as a design technique, like the randomness is a part you can it's cool to use or cool to kind of plan.
I have a question about sound posters as well. I mean, having a relationship with a client for 17 years is really impressive. How do you make sure you don't repeat yourself?
This is a very good question, because Sam is, that's what I maybe said in the beginning. It's always the same. It's always the same, but always different. And I still have, like, fun for me is one of the most important parts. It's funny because when I was studying all these masters from the Swiss styles, like Armin Hoffmann and Wolfgang Wangard and Emil Rudo and so, that were like old mans. So we kind of tried to do revolution against them. And at that time there were young studios in Basel, Müller and Hess and Cornel Windlin, and you might don't know them, but young studios which were very precise and very good and very anarchistic maybe as well. So they influenced me at that time. But where I'm from and what my education does mean and what it gave me, I realized then 10 years or 15 years after I started to work. So I think this changed a little bit. Who is the inspiration?
Christopher's question about print versus digital. It seems, looking at your work, the mode of production is an important input into your process, right?
Yes.
And I wonder whether some of that gets lost when it becomes purely digital. I know there are ways maybe to build it into the digital workflow, but it sounds to me like it's a critical part of what you do, right? That the production feeding into your design.
Yes, but I think somehow there were techniques before I did this, before I did screen print, there were techniques that died out. So somehow time is changing. And somehow I think you have to accept that. I don't know. I mean, screen printing, for example, a lot of screen print houses in Switzerland, they closed. Some, they are still rising, but the production in digital is as well that there comes something new or something else. So I think you have to see that in that way. I think it's good to be a romantic, but not too much. I don't know. I mean, times, they are changing, so you have to accept that. And as I said, there were times when they said print is dead. It's not true. I mean, some parts are dead, but some other parts are rising. And then there is the combination between digital and analog or digital and paper and so, which is very interesting. But once again, I think one should be like looking forward.
Thank you so much, Jiri. I'd like to invite everyone to the gallery to check out the posters in real scale. Yeah.